You spoken out about human rights, and you said that I think America first, referring to the president's slogan, is human rights, and that America first is humanitarian issues. But when the president talks, he says he's not going to lecture countries. So help us understand that disconnect between talking about human rights and a president who says he's not going to lecture.
You know, it's interesting. Everyone wants to try and create a divide because I'm speaking out on human rights and humanitarian issues, and the president may not mention it, but we're on the same team. And so he's very aware that I'm outspoken on human rights, and he's very aware I'm outspoken on the need for humanitarian assistance, and he's been supportive of that. The U.S. is always going to speak out on human rights. There are times we can work with countries, and there are times when we see human rights issues that we're going to call them out on it. But we don't have to say it's going to be definitely one way or the other. We have to have conversations with our counterparts. We have to have relationships with them. And we want to try and get along with them as much as we can. But when they go against our values, we are going to say something. That's just who we are as a country. That's what we've always been great at.
I think the question is, when the president speaks, obviously speaks as the loudest voice in American policy, and goes to Saudi Arabia and says, I'm not going to lecture, and doesn't raise the human rights issues in Saudi Arabia. And the message that's sent is, if America needs something from a country, it's not going to talk about human rights so much. That also would apply to China. And so that's the message people get when the president says, I'm not going to lecture.
Well, I am going to Geneva this next week, and I'm going to the Human Rights Council, and that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about is the need for the Human Rights Council to actually deal with human rights. We've got countries on the Human Rights Council right now, like Venezuela and Cuba, and what these actors do is they get on the council so that the finger's never pointed to them. As much that has happened with Venezuela, with the deaths that we've had, with the injuries that we've had, with the political prisoners that have been in place, not once has the Human Rights Council called on Venezuela. Well, that's because they sit on the council. And so we do care about human rights, and that's why I'm going to Geneva. That's why I'm going to be talking about it, and that's why I'm going to tell them if the U.S. is going to be a part of the Human Rights Council, then the Human Rights Council has to have credibility.
Another member of the Human Rights Council is Saudi Arabia. A lot of people criticize its beheadings, its lack of freedom in Saudi Arabia. Would you put it in the same category as Venezuela, as you just described it, using the Human Rights Council as a whitewash?
We don't support Saudi Arabia when it comes to human rights, and they know that we don't condone some of the things that they do. We'll always be vocal about that.